Nigel Farage reveals his bank accounts are being closed down because of his political opinions, and people reel back in horror. How could such a sinister thing happen in a free democratic country? Well, this commercial branch of cancel culture is not new and, alarmingly, not that rare. If you thought the woke blob were just underemployed civil servant lefties causing havoc in Whitehall, think again. They're everywhere. And they're working their rancid magic in the financial sector, busily beavering away, ruining the lives of decent, law-abiding citizens who are, horror of horrors, right wing. Not content with shutting out Mr. Brexit, the faceless Remainer ghouls have also gone for 3 members of Farage's family. Meanwhile, 8 more banks have refused Nigel's business, even though he is a prosperous man earning hundreds of thousands of pounds. In other grim news, a retired vicar who wrote to the Yorkshire Building Society asking why all of its offices were bedecked with pride regalia received a prompt reply, informing him his account was history. This is the front line of the culture war, where the casualties suddenly find themselves unable to function because left-wing bank staff declined to handle their money. PayPal went into overdrive, cancelling politically incorrect clients. Not left, but definitely right and centre. Toby Young's Free Speech Union was unceremoniously axed before strongly fighting back and forcing a U-turn. Children's rights group Us For Them, conservative campaigners Mums for Liberty, the Gays Against Groomers and many more were all on the list of shame before PayPal's woke warriors backtracked and for now at least appear to have abandoned their vindictive approach to people with whom they disagree. Lest we forget, Olympic swimming legend Sharon Davis was also unpersoned by PayPal thanks to her outrageous view that just maybe biological males should not compete in women's sports. Climate change, Europe, the trans debate, you name it, you had better be on the woke side of the fence, or else. Former Fleet Street editor Dominic Lawson told of how his daughter Dominica, who has Down syndrome, was turned down by Barclays, allegedly because her grandfather was Nigel Lawson. Apparently, thanks to the late Mr. Lawson's role as Tory Chancellor in the 1980s, his granddaughter is a money laundering risk 40 years later. The banks dismiss the customers they don't want as, and I quote, politically exposed people, aka PEP, whose dealings, especially with other countries, could potentially be risky and possibly even downright dodgy. But while Farage and co have felt the full force of this vague and nebulous PEP classification, the only left-wingers who seem to have suffered are from the Left Lockdown Skeptics organisation. Wokies love lockdowns. Opposition to them is not permitted. But unless they're against lockdowns, evidently left-wingers are never politically exposed. Funny that. In response to this dark and dangerous development, current Chancellor Jeremy Hunt says he is deeply concerned and promises government action within weeks. Why weeks? Why not right now? At the very least, surely it should be compulsory for the banks to explain exactly why they're closing an account, something they don't have to do at the moment, and indeed don't. To this day, Farage is yet to be given a single reason why his perfectly healthy, in the black accounts have bitten the dust. He vehemently denies allegations by Labour stalwart Sir Chris Bryant that he was paid more than £500,000 by the Russia Today TV channel, allegations that Bryant has declined to repeat outside of the legally protected sphere of parliamentary privilege. Just fancy that. In the meantime, Nigel fights for his financial future and, by extension, the basic rights of the commercially cancelled, who are banned from credit cards, debit cards, checkbooks and all the other aspects of banking that until recently we took for granted. And memo to all those lefties laughing at Farage because they hate him. When the political pendulum swings, the brazen banks are bound to bend with the wind. And then it will be the accounts of left-wingers that crash and fall like dominoes. Now, come on, you bunch of bankers. This is Britain, not North Korea. Stop this tyrannical persecution of innocent people and do the right thing. Rebecca, this isn't, to me, a political issue. It's not about right-wingers and left-wingers. It's about anyone being told they can't have a bank account because of what they think, because of their worldview. And that is sinister and worrying. Do you not agree?
It's terrifying, but also massively ironic that banks, not normally known for being the moral compass, have suddenly had a moral compass. It makes absolutely no sense that how someone votes politically, if you're paying your taxes and you have enough money going into the account, what's the problem?
Yeah.
It's a mystery, and it's terrifying because I think it's all come from this social credit system that's really subtly seeping into society with things like Uber ratings. If you don't shut the door properly, you don't speak to your driver, you get a lower Uber rating.
Is that right?
Yeah,
It's the last time I'm rude to an Uber driver. I usually do that for a hobby.
But it's that thing of rating people based on our behaviour and not as us as a customer. Yeah. But when it comes to money, it's ridiculous. It's got nothing to do with behaviour. Oh no, don't disagree with me.
JJ, in Germany, it is your absolute legal right under law. You have to be given a bank account by someone. You have a legal, basic right to have one. And we ought to have that law here because regardless of your political persuasion, the right to handle your own money through a bank must be basic. Surely.
Listen, Kevin, I think the last thing Nigel Farage wants is for us to be doing anything that they're doing in Europe, OK? So don't cite Germany as a great thing, yeah?
Just
get like the Europeans.
Didn't think of that.
Also, with Nigel, he's supposed to be the working class guy, man of the people. He was banking with Coots. He wasn't just like HSBC or some normal bank. Coots, the elitist bank is who he was with. They gave him 60-day notice. All I know, I can't accuse him of anything. I don't have parliamentary privilege. All I know is that banks generally suspend and close accounts based on suspicious activity with the accounts. So I'm sure eventually the banks will explain and say the reason for closing down the accounts. But Nigel Farage coming out and saying, this is horrendous, I didn't do this, didn't do that. I don't believe anything.
But he'd had an account with Coots. He didn't name Coots, but that is the bank. He had 2 accounts with them since 1980.
Yeah.
Now, they say that he's a politically exposed person, but politically exposed people never seem to come from the left. They're always from the right. And I think Rebecca's right. This is banks trying to sort of jump onto some sort of virtue signalling do-gooder bandwagon. And, you know, when you say, oh, it's just that one bank, Farage has been turned down by 8 other banks.
Because what they would do is say to him, can we look at the last 3 months' worth of your statements before you join this bank? They've obviously looked through those statements and said, well, actually, there's some anomalies here. We can't take you on.
No, it's not, mate.
That's
rubbish!
What it is.
Absolute rubbish!
That's what it is.
They're just going, he's a right-wing Brexiteer. We hate him.
No.
We hate him.
No.
Well, what about all the other people who got closed down? What about Sharon Davis getting closed down by PayPal?
PayPal's not really a bank.
Yeah, but why are they doing that?
Well, that's a business. Businesses can do what they want. Banks are not businesses. PayPal is a business.
Well, banks are businesses, and right now they can do what they want.
The banks.
They've got to be told to at least explain why they're doing it. Right now, Farage is not being given a reason, and nor is anyone else who's had their account.
Sharon Davis, I think it's horrendous that PayPal did that to her, and I'm glad that they reversed that decision. But Farage, for the man who lied to this country and said we'd be better off.
Stop going on about Farage.
This
is about banks. This is about banks. What about the vicar who wrote to Yorkshire Building Society just to ask why are all your offices bedecked with pride regalia? They got a letter back in the post saying your account's cancelled. What's that about?
I would like to see the letter this vicar.
Oh no, you see that's your argument, is it?
Yes.
Well, I think that letter doesn't exist. I don't believe the vicar.
I don't believe
That's
the vicar.
a useless way of arguing your point. But any time something crops up that doesn't suit your argument, that doesn't fit in, you say, I don't believe it.
That is
not true.
That is the Mike Graham school of debating.
You've known JJ for a long time, haven't you?
Unfortunately, yes. I know him quite well.
How much of an idiot would you say he is?
On a scale of 1 to 10?
Yeah.
Well, he is friends with me, so he's got some sort of logic. But yeah, it did suit the agenda, so it didn't exist. Well done, buddy.
Thank you.
But it will swing the other way, JJ. When the political pendulum swings, as I say, they'll start closing down left-wing accounts. Banks should not be making these kind of decisions.
When that happens and I get shut down,
Oh, then you'll come
I'll
back.
take my money to Monaco.
Yeah, well, I think I owe Nigel Farage an apology. It's happened to me
You
now.
will never hear me say such words. Never have.
I'm not a Farage fanboy, by the way, but this is not about Farage. This is about, as I said earlier in my monologue, it's about an extension, in my view, of what the blob, the civil service blob, do, not doing what the government wants them to do, stopping government policy because it doesn't like it.
Yeah.
Now we've got banks, as you said, Rebecca, rather weirdly, like acting like they're marvellous do-gooding organisations and they're woke. And so they're cancelling people for their political opinions, and that's not on.
How long ago was Brexit? Farage is saying that this is his punishment because of Brexit. That was years ago. Why didn't they do it at the time?
He's not very well liked, is he? And I think he's probably got an insecurity about if there's no logical reason, you go and find one, don't you? So he's trying to think.
I tell you, the banks will come forward eventually and say, these are the reasons why we shut down your account. And if they tell Farage privately, Farage isn't going to come out and say, they said I've been fraudulent because of all these illegal payments.
After 43 years.
Yeah.
He's getting hundreds of thousands of pounds a year, and you think it's perfectly OK that he's had his bank accounts shut down.
Yeah.
It is not legit. You're banned from this programme. Get off. Go away. Go away. I'm never having him on again. Time for a bad ad.
Meet Carrie. She knows what she wants, something better, so she switched from Scope to Listerman.
Its fresh minty taste lasts long, and so does my fresh breath.
Eric's the kind who wants more zest out of life, so he switched from Scope to new Listerman Cinnamon.
Its refreshing cinnamon taste lasts long, too. And so does my fresh breath.
Fresh minty taste.
Zesty cinnamon.
They passed our test.
Listerman and new Listerman Cinnamon. They taste as good as they work.
I always take some breath freshener down to the beach when I'm going there, don't you?
Absolutely. What were they getting up to that they need to freshen their breath?
Well, also, I love how they matched their mouthwash to what they were wearing.
And their cars.
That's really, really important.
Dune buggies.
Dune buggies, yeah. Lovely.
I think I know where that beach is. It's where most adverts are filmed in America. It's actually called Dune Beach, and it's down from LA. And it's the first sort of big stretch of sand with some cliffs, so it's very filmic. So you'll see, it's where they mostly film Baywatch. I think I know where that is. But yeah, do you take mouthwash to the beach when you go?
I haven't, but it's got alcohol in, so maybe if I was really desperate, I might take that.
You're giving JJ ideas, obviously. It is time now for anti-social media. Kevin O'Sullivan is a Farage fanboy.
Oh, here we go.
I just said I'm not a Farage fanboy.
Oh, they know you.
But apparently I'm a Farage fanboy. He only cares about banking relations when they close right-wing accounts.
Yep.
This should struggle to use an ATM. He'll struggle to find a bloody ATM these days. They keep closing them down. Did you write that? Because you just said that.
That's it. Just as we're talking.
Anyway, let's move on to number 2. Why is Kevin O'Sullivan slagging off people from North London again? He lives in North London. Probably next door to Bill Gates. Bill Gates lives in America. Right, it is time for a proper advert. What just happened?
He's mad as hell. It's Kevin O'Sullivan.
As the escalating migrant crisis gets worse by the day and Rishi Sunak's promises look emptier than a pub in lockdown, the struggling Prime Minister's once loyal supporters have had enough. A furious group of Tory MPs led by influential Deputy Party Chairman Lee Anderson have told their boss that unless he cuts immigration by 2/3, he will lose the trust of voters and face humiliating annihilation at the next election. They're right. Sunak's pledge to stop the boats seems dead in the water, with hundreds of foreigners crossing the channel in illegal small boats and dinghies on a daily basis. Hotels, the length and breadth of the country, are packed with asylum seekers waiting years to hear if they can stay indefinitely. Disused air bases, derelict holiday camps, and former prisons are being turned into accommodation centres for thousands, while giant barges become floating homes for confused confused foreigners. But as the illegal migrant situation speedily spins out of control, the hitherto barely noticed legal immigration problem is the most urgently pressing for a government that vowed to get numbers down but has seriously failed to do so. At the last election, net migration stood at 226,000. 3 years on, the past turbulent 12 months have seen a record 660,000 welcomed into the warm embrace of the UK as the population spirals at an alarming rate. Lee Anderson and co have warned reeling Rishi that unless he reduces next year's intake by a whopping 444,000, in other words, whittle it down by 66%, the voters won't trust him and by extension won't vote for him. The statistics stacking up against Sunak are terrifying. The current bumper bill to long-suffering taxpayers for putting up migrants is a staggering £7 million a day. But a government impact report predicts that at this rate, by 2026, that bill will soar to £30 million. That adds up to an eye-watering £11 billion a year. Meanwhile, within 2 decades without action to curtail the inexorable rise, the population of this tiny island will rocket to 87 million. Not so long ago, at the turn of the century, it was less than 60 million. It's a frightening fact that Britain has neither the infrastructure nor the housing to sustain these vast annual influxes. And yet still, the migrants come, beneficiaries of a shockingly short-sighted policy to let in millions of unqualified foreign nationals to do unskilled jobs and to just about keep the economy bobbing along. Under this dubious system, the economy is mildly bolstered by more lowly paid people spending small amounts of money, but significant growth cannot happen. By all accounts, our dear leader Rishi is getting depressed, moaning that being Prime Minister is a really tough job. Really, Rishi? Who knew? But while he struggles to cope with the cost of living crisis, he doesn't appear to understand that it's the migrant crisis that will kill him at the ballot box. You can imagine the PM was relatively happy when all the anger centred on the mostly male channel crossers pitching up on our beaches, pretending they're escaping from war and torture. Now we know that to add to the thousands of illegals who continue to arrive in their droves, Rishi has quietly opened the borders to millions of legal migrants. The heat is on him. After the Rwanda scheme was predictably kiboshed by the left-wing judiciary, all that's left are incentives. The deterrents Sunak said he would set up to dissuade migrants from coming here simply don't exist. You won't be flown to East Africa. You won't be sent home. You will be housed in luxury hotels. You will be given free food and you will get 45 quid a week welfare. But if that's not good enough, why not try Rishi's unbeatable offer of an overcrowded new life in jam-packed Britain? We're bursting at the seams. But hey, come and join the rapidly expanding throng, completely legally. Very few questions asked. Isn't that special? No, it's not. Meanwhile, what the hell happened to that £500 million Sunak handed to Macron for France to patrol its own beaches? And, I don't know, maybe stop a boat or two. Damned if I know. Do you? Answers on a postcard, please. Do you know what happened to that £500 million, JJ?
No. I don't know what happened to that 350 million we're going to get a week for the NHS.
Ah, here we go.
Farage promised us.
Farage! Evil Farage!
Yes. No. Look, I don't think whatever Sunak does now, he's not going to save the Tories and get them to be in government again
I agree.
at the next election. What he can do, if he manages to reduce some of the migration, is help get people like Lee Anderson, is to help save their seats. Some of the major players, it will help them. Yeah. But the majority of them are going to be gone at the next election. I'm certain of it. Every promise he's made on his, 5 pledges Sunak made? Yeah. He's failed at all of them. Every single one of them he's failed at.
Yeah.
And he's not going to, there's nothing now, not come hell nor high water, nothing's going to save him and the Tories at the next general election. He could reduce it to 0 and he's still not going to get voted back in.
Most of these people, they're coming over for economic reasons, and that has to be stopped.
No, so be it. I went to the Middle East for economic reasons. Yeah.
They gave you a massive amount of money to edit a magazine. Not really a migrant story, is it?
Kevin, most of us come from it.
What are you going to do now you've arrived? I'm going to edit a celebrity magazine. So you don't want to be a fruit picker then?
Well, I did it.
That doesn't make you a migrant. Makes you a wealthy resident.
I was an economical immigrant. That's what I was.
Yeah, nicely put. Economical immigrant.
Yeah, economical immigrant.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good points, Rebecca. You shut up. Now let's move on to vote for me. This guy Cornel West. I think he is going to be the next president of the United States. How can he go wrong with a promotional video like this?
I have decided to run for truth and justice, which takes the form of running for president of the United States. I care about the quality of your life, women having control over their bodies, health care for all. Democracy creates disruption. It creates an eruption. It creates an interruption.
He was doing all right until that thing of their body. I mean, I agree with the point, but I didn't think he made it very well.
I think he wanted to perform it and sing it. That's why I kind of got a bit...
Bodies, eruptions. It was giving like sexual vibes, you know?
It sort of started as an unusual political campaign video and ended as a sort of tone poem. I mean, don't know what sort of party he was representing or anything.
I don't know which one. But listen, he can't be any worse than Biden. At least this guy's a doctor of philosophy.
Yeah.
He's going to be a smart thinker. Biden doesn't know what day it is.
Yeah, he's independent, I'm told. So, I'll vote for Cornel and not Joe. I agree with that. Time for the best of bad TV.
You look smell good. I feel good.
And you sing good.
And make love good.
Oh. Well, there we are. We don't have to ask anybody else. We got that from the source. There you are. It sounds to me as though you're not troubled by any of this at all.
This is a man's world.
Thanks for reminding us of that. Every once in a while, we forget.
James Brown there, of course, the legendary soul singer. It says here, drunk on TV. He may have had a few drinks, but I think he was on a lot more than just alcohol, wouldn't you say?
Definitely.
I mean, he was known for his extracurricular activities, wasn't he?
Yeah. And that woman is Sonia Friedman. That show is called Live with Sonia. Yeah.
Okay.
And she was always doing these kind of interviews with big-name celebrities. And in that time, James Brown was still a massive, huge deal.
Yeah.
But I don't think she'd expect him to turn up off his face.
Yeah. I reckon he just bought some good stuff and it was just kicking in. What about you? Did you enjoy that?
We need to get you those glasses, I think, firstly.
Yeah, indeed.
And secondly, I really miss celebrities behaving badly. They're now so manufactured. We need to see them maybe half cut sometimes on TV.
Come back, James Brown. All is forgiven. Don't forget a role on EastEnders where death is not the end of your life. They keep coming back.
I was going to say, Kevin, you've actually got James Brown's teeth, though. Same natures as James Brown.
There you go. I am like James Brown. Get it on. That's all we've got for this week. We'll be back next week with another edition of What Just Happened. Big thanks to JJ Anisiobi, sort of, and a special thanks to Rebecca Twomey. Meanwhile, I remain Kevin O'Sullivan, and I'll see you next week. What just happened?